Okay, let's take a look at two classic samplers. The Akai MPC2000, referred to as the classic, and the Akai MPC2000XL. And on first glance, they look very similar, and that's because they are very similar. My first MPC was this one here. I bought one new in 1997, and I honestly didn't like the sound. I loved the workflow. I had individual outs on it. I had an effects in it put in. I was trying to use a SCSI at the time, a SCSI drive. Never got it to, and I hated floppies. I still don't really care for floppies. They take forever to load, forever, and of course a limited size. So that's one of the few differences between these two units that I'll get into. I'm not going to be doing a sound test. There's lots of those. There's a few anyway, videos about that. And I honestly can't tell the difference in sound between the two, other than I would say that the XL feels a little brighter. I don't know though. I honestly don't know. Some people prefer the classic sound. They say it's better. It's a little darker, maybe some more oomph. That could be the case, but I personally haven't noticed a difference. I feel like whatever I put through this is a little darker. It gets a little flat. That's a better word for it. A little more flat. And I feel that this is more accurate or true to the original sound or sample source. So yeah, there we go. That's the basics of the sound difference between the two. I honestly don't feel there is one. Let's just look at the form factor for a minute. The 2000 came before the 2000XL. And as you can see, it's got a higher profile. Let me go to the other side here and get that a better profile angle. Sorry for the shoddy camera work. I'm working in cramped quarters here because I have some lighting set up. So yeah, you can see probably the classic sits about an inch and a quarter higher on profile. Footprint wise, they're going to take up the same amount of real estate for the most part. The XL's a little bit smaller, not much though. The layout of the controls, the transport controls are the same. Slider, this part right here is even, actually pretty much all of it is the same. Let me shoot over here. So same, have transport buttons, the control, the number buttons, main screen, an open window, jog wheel, slider. I mean, it's all the same. The major difference is that on the 2000, you have the pad bank full level and 16 level buttons here, and you have all of that business on the XL here above the pads. Now, the added part of controllability for the XL that I love is track mute. Next sequence, haven't used that much, but those two, the track mute, I mean, it's a big deal for me. I like to name the tracks and be able to mute them with the pads while I'm playing. It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. That's the real main difference, is next sequence and track mute. And, you know, the knobs are on the top left on the 2000, knobs are on the top right on the XL. Not a big deal. They use the exact same screen, so if yours is burned out and you need a new one from MPC stuff, they're the same screen. I've replaced a bunch of them. They're pretty easy to install. Now let me show you one of the main differences for the screen when using the XL. Bam. That's a big deal. Huge deal? No. Deal breaker? Perhaps for some. For me, the deal breaker, why I'll never own another 2000, is simply because of the storage media. The handling files, the file management isn't as nice. With the XL, you can very easily, with an inexpensive off-brand CF drive, throw in a CF card reader and you're off to the races. It can recognize up to a gig. If you put something like a GoTech in this, a GoTech floppy emulator, it's going to partition the thumb drive into the same size segments as floppy disks. So yeah, you can have 1,000 floppy disks on a USB, but they're all going to be the size of a floppy disk. And to me, that's just, and it's still, from what I hear, loads as slow as a floppy does. What you can do, what's preferable, is to get an external SCSI drive and hook it up at the back. Now the back is what I want to look at. What I want to look at next for these to compare them. So bear with me while I spin these units around. Now the one thing about the condition of these is I haven't seen an XL or a 2000 Classic in this condition since I bought mine new in '97 out of the box. This one looks like it's brand new. It's amazing. There's a few minor nicks on it. This being one of them. Right there, you see that in between the middies? And there's the SCSI port I was talking about. For an inexpensive SCSI drive and some zip disks, you can have a way better file management system and it will be a lot faster loading and saving. So yeah, neither of these have the 8 output upgrades or the effects upgrades. However, they share the same boards. What I mean by that is if you get the 8 outs, you can put them in either the 2000 or the XL. They work on both, and a few of the S series samplers too, I don't remember which, as well as the effects board. The effects board will work in either as well. So we're looking at the back now. Same number of MIDI outputs, same number of jack outputs. You can see they changed the layout a little bit on the back. So you can see here's the inputs, outputs, and headphones. And then if we look on the Classic, they're on the bottom right. So here they are, record in, stereo out, and headphones out. Don't know why they did that. They just reversed it a little bit, as well as the power. Not a big deal, not a huge difference. Yeah, so the workflow is very similar. I find that there's a little bit more that you can do with the XL. Not a huge difference, but again, for me, the biggest difference is that file management. I just can't get into disks, or even I couldn't be bothered with external SCSI drives myself. That said, some people like the disks, and what's cool about the disks is that you really have to narrow your focus. You have limitations, and you know, the same reason that I like outboard gear like this is because it narrows it increases limitations, and it kind of makes you focus more creatively in a different way than a DAW does. Well, the same could be said for the Classic versus the XL. Some people like the idea of working with discs because it makes them really be very picky choosy about their samples and put more thought into it, and forces more of that creativity. There's really not too much else that's different about these that I haven't gone over. Like I said, the workflow is pretty much similar. The pads are just as buttery. The jog wheel's a little bit different on the 2000 Classic. I prefer the jog wheel on the Classic myself, but not a big enough difference to really care about that. So yeah, there you go. 2 amazing classic samplers that just gain popularity every year, it seems, and who knows when that's going to end, but if it ever does, because you know, boom bap has really never gone away. Of course, you can use these machines for whatever you like, but they do seem to be heavily used by people who like their boom bap beats. So if you're thinking about buying either of these, my recommendation is the XL. I find that there seems to be more of them. They're a little pricier than the classics, but I just like the different features on them, and I like the tilting screen. That means a lot to me. So yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about the differences between the two, and if you have one or the other or both. Thanks for watching. See you next time.